conduit for her will, or provided clues such as the Eplis flower. I believe she has been waiting for mankind's answers to Hermes' question. So, what's the second condition? We must find a means to reach Mitten. Naturally, our chosen method would depend entirely upon wheresoever she has made her nest. Then communion with Heidelin must be necessity come first. Did you and Master Matoya have any luck with your investigation into the Ethereal Sea? Sadly not. Though we enlisted the help of Arenvald and other Echo-blessed allies, we couldn't detect so much as a whisper from Hyland, even from within the ancient tower. Master Matoya is of the opinion that in the years since abandoning it, the Forum has found some other method of receiving instructions from Hyland. If so, it would most likely be some form of apparatus for observing the Ethereal Sea, built closer to home. Sorry to interrupt. We've just received word from the Forum. Your presence is required in the Rosetta, where they intend to discuss the Great Exodus. Then Father was able to persuade them. They're finally taking us seriously. Let's hear what they have to say. Twas Heidelin's commandant that in the event Zodiac should perish, the Lord Prince were to deliver the people of Etheris from harm. But that be the limit of their duties. They possess knowledge unparalleled of the great expanse and the means of its traversal. Should they be persuaded to assist in our efforts to reach Mitten, we would do well to heed their counsel. At first, I wasn't sure what to make of Hermes and his motives. But it's like we discussed at the Great Wars. When faced with the harsh realities of life, some seek the release of death, others grow defiant. They fight. Either way, it is our right to choose. Well, that was a much quicker response than I was expecting. Nice to know our efforts on the Magus Grass didn't go unnoticed. Father has granted us the opportunity we've been waiting. Though we know not what information, if any, they intend to reveal. There's only one way to find out. To the Risotto. I hope you don't mind me staying behind while you attend your big meeting. The Risotto reminds me too much of the supremely scary Trumanel and Ishgar. You'll forgive me if I keep my distance. After you left for Garlemald, I went to Labyrinthios and tried to reach Hyland using the Eplis flower. Alas, my attempts were in vain. I can only assume that she spent a vast amount of her power in the confrontation with Fandaniel and is presently unable to communicate. Indeed, as her presence left my body, I could feel how faint it had grown. Hello, Wolf. Master Matoya has suspected for some time that the Forum has been constructing a new facility for the purpose of surveying the Ethereal Sea. Of course, as the custodian of the Anti-Tower, which would presumably be rendered obsolete as a result, she has a few things to say about that. Nothing that she be repeated in polite company, you understand. After sending Graha and Nessinian back to Garlemald, I stayed in Locus Emerus for a time. Being an imperial province, it was already in turmoil before the onset of the final days. You wouldn't believe the difficulty we had overseeing the evacuation of the villages we visited. I have faith the detachment we left behind will continue our work and shepherd the people to safety. To what safety can be found in a world coming to an end? To think the Crystal Tower of the First is capable of such feats as sending one's soul into the distant past. The events you witnessed and helped shape may yet hold the key to forestalling the final days. I'm reminded of dear friends in the future I made. Those selfless efforts saw the Eighth Umbral calamity averted. In this timeline, at least, too much has been sacrificed for us to abandon Athenians now. You guess a long day, Wolf? The forum is a session, and as such, the Rosetta is closed to visitors. The signs of the seventh dawn. Very well, you may wait in the court. Of course, entry will only be permitted on the condition you leave your armaments at the door. Lest you forget, this sacred institution holds rational discourse in the highest. The implements of war are expressly forbidden. Well, sadly, gamer, that's one of the bad things about being a master DPS in this game. You never get to use your big move. Oh.
There is a matter I wish to raise with you before we enter. We are here to listen and to learn. But if the forum's plans are more or less what I expect, then I should like to make a proposal that will serve our ends. By your leave, of course.
I don't see why not. Your words and wits have gotten us this far.
Agreed. I will present our queries so that you may consider the most advantageous way to advance your proposal without distraction.
Thank you, everyone.
If I may have your attention, the ad hoc session will now commence. The purpose of today's assembly is to brief the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, at their request, on the Great Exodus. You may enter.
Hi, bud. Have a good night at work.
On behalf of the Forum, I commend your heroic actions on the Magna Glacies. We shall not soon forget your service to us and the people of Radzat-Han. The Satrap, whom we have informed of the refugees' new arrangements, sings your praises as well. As an expression of our gratitude, we will endeavor to answer your questions as fully and openly as we are able.
Then let us begin. First, it is the Forum's objective to ferry the life and knowledge of this star to the moon. Am I correct?
You are. It is for this purpose that Charlian has labored these many long years. We have collected biological samples and scientific records from across the star. When the time comes, they will be moved from their places in Labyrinthos and Numenon and conveyed to safety. Once that critical task has been accomplished, we will begin transporting the Charlian citizenry, which has been categorized into groups. The earliest arrivals are to ensure hospitable environs for those who come after. Following our people, we will send those of other nations in turn, beginning with our allies. Radzat Han was foremost among these, but since the final days have already come to Thavnair, we saw fit to include the refugees with earlier groupings.
An ambitious plan. You have accounted for the safety of all nations and tribes, then?
As many as we can.
And how, pray tell, do you decide who to leave behind?
To journey beyond the sky is an unprecedented and immeasurably difficult endeavor. Introducing sources of inevitable conflict would condemn all to certain death.
Questions as to the validity of that approach aside, are your plans proceeding apace? We're under the impression that your primary means of celestial transportation is incomplete.
If only in that it does not meet our optimal parameters, that is correct. This Ark, as some have taken to calling it, is fully operational and could be launched even today. However, the final days have progressed more quickly than we anticipated. At present, the ship is incapable of attaining speeds sufficient to meet our evacuation targets. Should we put the vessel into service, as it is now, we will be unable to travel to the moon and back quickly enough to complete the necessary number of trips. Precious lives and knowledge will be lost.
Seven hells. Is there anything to be done?
The ether burner, the primary means of propulsion once the craft is in the space between stars, is undergoing testing to determine whether it can be made more efficient. Though cargo is being loaded for the initial phase of the Exodus, we are prepared to continue our experimentation up to the day before launch, should it prove necessary.
What if the Scions were to solve your problem? We shall help devise a means to improve the ether burner's efficiency, on 2 conditions. If we succeed, you must allow us to meet with Hydaelyn.
"'Twas simple enough to deduce. You have a Concord, and so you would never have abandoned the anti-tower had you no other means of communication. One far more convenient, I suspect.
The second condition, also to be met upon our success, is that we be permitted to propose another use for your Ark.
We would be at liberty to refuse this proposal.
Of course. If we cannot prove its merit to the 99 here, who are we to stake on it the lives of all peoples of this star?
Delightful as always, Master Alfino. Oh, we couldn't have asked for a finer plan. Allow us to solve this complex engineering problem of which we were entirely unaware until moments ago. What could possibly go wrong? The satire writes itself. Yet, what field has not benefited from a change in perspective? When we are at wit's end, what we need is not the same dry theories recited ad nauseam, but fresh inspiration. I, for one, have faith in my erstwhile students to provide it, and I find their terms to be perfectly acceptable.
Order! Order! We have no time to waste on debate. I call a vote. All in favor of agreeing to the Scion's terms? "71 in favor, 28 against. The ayes have it. Fortuneau, as the architect of this project, you are the best candidate to show them its current state. And bear in mind that regardless of your personal misgivings, this is the will of the Forum.
Very well.
I call this session to a close. Return to your tasks with urgency. The final days wait for none.
Rest assured, I have every intention of honoring the Forum's decision. Sorry about not letting the rest of you in on my plan. I was, admittedly, thinking on my feet for the most part. But since we require both a means of communicating with Heideland and reaching men, in the spur of the moment, I saw involving others with the completion of the arc as a way to work towards both objectives simultaneously. However, we must first keep our end of the bargain by solving the problem of the Aetherburner. I like to think it is not a challenge beyond our combined expertise, or at least the expertise of our extended circle of associates. It might behoove us to learn how the Afterburner actually works before we attempt to improve it. As instructed, I shall take you to see the Afterburner. Meet me outside the Arcadine. I trust you can make your own way there. So the Ark is being built in Labyrinth use. Hardly surprising. Where else could they conceal such a massive undertaking? Alright, back down to Labyrinthos. It seems so long ago we first set foot here. Do they intend to carry everything in the Archon to the moon? They said they'd started loading scientific records and biological samples, but do they really need all of it? Where once we were refused entry, we are now welcomed as guests. Among the many and varied documents sent to the moon, I did chance upon several inventors made in the Archean. Mayhaps the Forum believed such records would provide insight into the intricacies of clerical duties. Regardless, the Lullaprince did not consider them worthy of more than a cursory glance. That we have been granted permission to enter the lower levels is proof of our increased standings. Would that they had been willing to confide in us sooner. It has been many moons since I last visited Labyrinthos. As fast as the archives were back then, they've only continued to grow in the days since. I don't understand the appeal of reshaping it to look like the world above. Make your peace with what it is, or go outside if that's what you prefer. Some would surely object to the Forum allowing foreign elements to have the run of their secret facilities. We should count ourselves lucky. Our destination lies in the lower levels. The Forum, in its wisdom, has granted you access to the Archean link. Step inside and have Opaline take you to the medical circuit. The medium circuit. Words. Words are hard. Yes, I wish to take this lift. I wish to finally take this damn lift. I have sent your associates ahead to Locus Alpha on the other side of Merrill Ergonomics. Actually, there's something I have been meaning to. No, never mind. It can wait. Let us attend to the matter at hand. Oh. I'm kind of happy to be back in Labyrinthos. It's a nice place. We are to wait here while our father arranges for us to use the next loop. Here, being Logiston Alpha. where the atmospheric conditions of Labyrinthios are regulated. Water is drawn from underground and disperses as vapor, simulating the formation of artificial clouds and rain. By maintaining the temperature and air circulation, they are able to create the ideal environment for the growth and preservation of the biological samples kept here. Hold on, how do you know so much about it? Why, Father brought me here as a child. What? And left me behind? Actually, you're the one who left me behind when you went off somewhere with Grandfather. The night before, I'd been asking Father how clouds are made, so he decided to show me. It was fascinating, and peppered him with questions the entire time. 'Tis all too easy to take for granted the many interweaving aspects of the natural world. To grow is sure to the wondrous. But having gained an understanding of the complex mechanism employed by the Lolliprins in recreating a similar environment, I have come to view such progress in a new light. The subterranean guardians in Labyrinthios, the lunar prison forged to contain the ancient Zoyar, the inhabitants built for all mankind near the moon's surface, each unique, yet undeniably similar. 'Tis no mere coincidence. Ever since Halen unfolded to us the grim fate that awaits Itherias, every essential resource we could spare has been delivered to Labyrinthios in preparation for the Great Exodus, but that is not all. It is also a testing ground for the technologies that will allow us to settle on distant stars. Though the Lolliprins have endeavored to make the moon uninhabitable, that is not our final destination. Mankind must learn to propagate life where there is none, to thrive where all is barren. Alas, time is not on our side. I've arranged for you all to enter this central circuit. It is there that most of our preparations for the Great Exodus are carried out, the construction of the Ark among them. Though our plans have not been made public, access remains highly restricted. You, however, will not be subjugated to said restriction, and will have free reign to come and go as you please. Such was the will of the Forum. We will prove ourselves worthy of your trust, your trust. Then let us proceed. By decree of the Forum, the signs of the Seventh Dawns are permitted to enter the central circuit. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. The afterburner is being constructed not far from here. Overseeing the work is Kokolo Denko, after whom the forge is named. Once the necessary introductions have been made, I shall leave you with him to discuss the particulars. This way.
Could swap them out. No, Been there, done that. Damn near lost me eyebrows. Think, Coco, think! We'd be well on our way to paradise. Visionaries patting themselves on the backs for their grand accomplishments if you'd only think!
Yes, that does sound rather lovely.
Yeah! I mean, Master Force, you know, what a pleasant surprise. We're not blasting off already, are we?
The schedule remains unchanged, for better or worse. Which is why the Forum has elected to accept assistance in resolving the ether burner conundrum.
Not seen you lot down here before.
There are Archons among their number, but engineering is not their expertise. Nevertheless, the Forum concedes the slim possibility that they may have insights to offer. If not, you are at liberty to return them to the surface, by whatever means you see fit.
I assure you that won't be necessary. Now, about your troubles with the ether burner.
Aye, aye, I'll walk you through it. Suppose I could do with a change of pace. As the name ought to tell you, the ether burner burns ether, ambient or otherwise, and transforms it into motive force. Think of it like a giant bomb that never stops exploding. Even out in that black void where the ether's right sparse, it's strong enough to move our arc. And it probably won't kill you like an actual bomb.
That's promising.
But it ain't perfect. According to my calculations, to travel to the moon and back fast enough for the Forum's liking, the conversion rate needs to be 6% more efficient. A measly 6%, you say? But if I could have squeezed even another 0.6 out of it, don't you think I'd have built it that way in the first place?
Hast thou consulted with the Loperids?
Yes, they too are conducting their own research, for lack of a ready answer. The moon's propulsion systems are considerable, naturally, yet they are commensurately massive. It is no easy feat to convert their technology into an efficient means of propulsion for a teeny tiny toy boat, as they say, and as I most certainly do not.
Yes, exactly! Damn it all, I asked for refined adamantite and they send me uppity rabbits with inscrutable, ancient, incompatible technology! You're trying to drive me mad!
Do you speak of Allegan refined adamantite, perchance?
You know of it?
Only in the most general terms, I'm afraid. 'Twas an alloy of Allegan make, but the secrets of its production were closely guarded. As I recall, the record stated it was vital to Dalamud's construction and launch.
Aye, that's the stuff. No material more conductive far as I know. Slotting some in's like blowing up a dam and watching the river of ether come rushing through. Ain't a living soul that knows how to make it, though. We were fortunate enough to salvage some for the ether burner, just a wee bit, mind, from a chunk of Dalamud that came hurtling into the Northern Empty during the calamity. With more, well, that extra 6% efficiency would be child's play. It's a crying shame that we've no other sources.
Surely the many shards of Dalamud scattered throughout Eorzea would suffice. Why not get the refined adamantite from them?
Oh, we tried, believe you me. But only a few specialised pieces would have had any in them to begin with. Drive calls from Ragnarok class internment hulks. Those are the prize bits we really need.